I brought the ring home, planning to propose to my wife again. But that night, I realized I had already been erased from my own family. This wasn't how I pictured our 15th anniversary. In my pocket, a small velvet box. Inside, a ring that shimmered with hope. I had it all planned. A simple dinner. The four of us together. And then, I'd give Rachel the ring. A new promise. But instead of laughter greeting me, the first thing I saw was a phone screen. Rachel had posted a picture online. Her, Max, Lily, and her family, all dressed up, glasses raised. A restaurant glowing with lights. The caption read, "Family only tonight." I froze at the doorstep. My heart dropped straight to the floor. I zoomed in. On the wall behind them, a family portrait. But there was a gap. An empty space, where my face used to be. My hands shook. The phone almost slipped. And then I saw it. A comment from my daughter, Lily. "Dad won't kill the vibe, because he's not here." I walked into my house. Dark, cold. The ticking clock on the wall, mocking me with every beat. I flipped the switch. The yellow light spilled over an empty sofa. A spotless coffee table. No dinner. No card. No note. Just silence. I sat down, hand on my chest. The ring in my pocket felt like dead metal. I had imagined giving it with a smile, maybe even happy tears. Now it was nothing but a cruel reminder that I had been cut out of my own marriage story. The silence pressed down on me. I could hear my own heavy breaths. I looked again at the photo. Rachel glowing, my kids laughing, warmth all around, except for the empty space where I should have been. On our 15th anniversary, I faced the truth. I was no longer part of the family I had built with my youth. And the hardest part? They had been preparing for this moment, all along. My name is Daniel. I'm 42, an electrical engineer, almost 20 years in the trade. My job isn't glamorous. Wires, control panels, the burnt smell of copper. But it gave me a steady life, enough to provide for my wife and our 2 kids. People say I'm the quiet type, steady, hardworking, the man who never makes noise. Maybe that silence is what made me invisible in my own home. I met Rachel at a small party when I was 27. She had a smile that pulled people in. I was awkward, not good with words. I just handed her a glass of water when she coughed. But somehow, she chose me. Maybe for my honesty. Maybe for the safety I gave her. The early years of our marriage. Poor, but happy. I still remember our first night in that tiny rented apartment. We sat on the floor, pizza in our hands, no furniture yet. Rachel laughed until she cried. And I thought to myself, if life stays like this forever, it's enough. Then Max was born. Then Lily. I worked harder, longer, sometimes gone for weeks. I wasn't good at showing love with words, so I showed it in quiet ways. Fixing a broken outlet, repairing a bike, leaving a few bills in Rachel's wallet so she'd smile when she found them. I thought that was enough. But sometimes, silence is the very thing that kills a marriage. Her parents, Greg and Michelle, were always there. At first, I thought they were warm. But as time went on, I felt like a guest in my own family. Greg would joke, half serious, "Daniel, just handle the heavy lifting, leave the rest to us." Michelle's words cut softer, but deeper. When I bought an old truck for work, she chuckled. "You always go for the cheap stuff, don't you?" I laughed it off. But inside, it felt like ice water poured down my back. Rachel rarely took my side. When I complained, she said, "You're too sensitive. They mean well." So I swallowed it, stayed silent. And with every silence, I felt smaller. I remember Max's 16th birthday. I saved for months to buy him an electric guitar. His dream. When he opened the box, his eyes lit up. But online, the photo Rachel posted thanked her mother for a luxury trip. My guitar disappeared in the sea of comments about plane tickets and vacations. I looked at that post, and for the first time, I asked myself, do I really belong here? After that, I faded from family pictures. Sometimes I'd come home late from work, the house empty, Rachel and the kids, out with their parents. At first, I told myself, it's okay, as long as they're happy. But little by little, that comfort turned into a hollow ache. The last 2 years, it became clear. Rachel barely spoke to me. Every plan went through her mother. Large sums of money vanished from our joint account. When I asked, Rachel brushed me off. "It's for the family. Don't make a fuss." I wanted to believe her, but cracks had already formed inside me. One night, Rachel came home late. I was watching basketball with Max, and he slipped out a line. "Dad, Mom said, without her parents, she wouldn't survive this marriage." I froze. Wanted to ask more, but I was afraid of the answer. So I forced a smile and said, "Let's just keep watching." Inside me, something broke. Back then, I thought it was just a careless comment. But later, I realized it was the first piece of a puzzle. A picture they'd been painting all along. A picture that didn't include me. Even Lily began to drift away. One time, I asked her to see a movie. She hesitated, then shook her head. "I'm busy with Mom and Grandma." Her voice was soft, but her eyes avoided mine. I turned away, heard the door click shut behind her, and my chest sank like stone. I didn't blame her. She was just learning to pick a side. But the sting was still sharp as needles. I started to remember my own childhood, sitting for hours on the bleachers after a game, waiting for my father to pick me up. He never came. I remember the emptiness of an empty field. Just me, alone. And I told myself, when I have kids, I'll never let them feel abandoned. But here I was, the one abandoned by my own family. Old wounds, meeting new ones, stacked, heavy, twice the pain. I don't know if it was fate mocking me, or just a reminder that some cycles you never escape, not if you stay silent. More and more, I felt silence was no longer the answer. But whenever I tried to speak, I saw Rachel's eyes, cold, distant, as if I were just a roommate, not her husband. And that was enough to silence me again. Until one day, Rachel's phone buzzed on the table, a group chat. The name family only. I opened it and saw I had been removed. I remembered being added once, but now my name was gone. Inside, they were planning a big party. And then Michelle's line stopped me cold. "Don't let Daniel ruin the mood." I put the phone down. My body went numb. I walked to the bathroom, stared into the mirror. The man staring back, dark circles under his eyes, gray creeping into his hair, looked like a stranger. A pitiful stranger. And I asked myself, when did I become an outsider? I don't know when it happened, but I know this much. They'd been preparing to cut me out for a very long time. I stared at the phone screen. My chest felt crushed. The picture was clear. Rachel, Max, Lily, her parents, the whole extended family, all dressed up, glasses raised, a restaurant glowing with light. On the wall behind them, the family portrait. But where I once stood, an empty space. The caption read, "Family only tonight." And beneath it, Lily's comment, "At least tonight, no one will kill the vibe." I collapsed on the steps, the phone glowing in the dark. But inside me, everything was black. In my pocket, the ring I had prepared to propose again weighed heavy, cold. I clenched it tight, as if I could hold on to a marriage slipping away. A few days earlier, I had felt it. I came home from work. Rachel and her mother sat in the kitchen, whispering, laughing. But the moment I walked in, silence. A spoon dropped. The clang echoed sharp. Rachel stood quickly. "We'll talk later." I said nothing, just opened the fridge for water. But the air, thick, heavy. Then the phone. The group chat. Family only. I used to be in it. Now my name was gone. One tap, and the messages lit up. Michelle, remember the slideshow for the party? Don't let Daniel find out. Greg, right, don't invite him. He'll ruin the mood. Rachel, a single laughing emoji. I dropped the phone, heart pounding. I rushed to the bathroom, faced the mirror. The man staring back, graying hair, sunken eyes. I whispered, breathless, when did I get erased from my own family? I didn't know the answer, but I knew the day was coming. Sooner than I thought. Our 15th anniversary. I came home early. House locked. Empty. I called Rachel. No answer. Called Max. Busy signal. Lily texted only 2 words. I'm busy. I stood at the door, numb. Then opened my phone, and there it was. That picture. It felt like someone had shoved me out of my own home. I sank onto the steps, frozen. Then my phone buzzed again. A private message. From Max. Dad, don't come. I don't want things to get worse. I read it again and again, my head spinning. Get worse. What did he mean? What did he know that I didn't? Was he protecting me or protecting his mother? Max knew something, but he wasn't ready to say. I opened the messaging app. Typed, Rachel, do you really want me out of this family? My hands shook. I erased it. Typed again, Max, whose side are you on? Erased it. Finally, I shut off the phone and sat in silence. Then I started the car. Drove toward the restaurant from the photo. The road was empty. Streetlights stretched ahead. My heart pounding like a drum. I parked outside. Through the glass, I saw them. Rachel raising her glass. Max with a forced smile. Lily glowing. Her parents. Relatives laughing loud. I gripped the handle of the car door. One step, and I could burst in. Shout. Shatter everything. But I stopped. A memory hit me. I was 10 again. Sitting on the bleachers after a game. Everyone gone. Just me, clutching a ball. Waiting for Dad to pick me up. He never came. I waited until the lights went out. Until the gate was locked. And I walked home, eyes burning. That memory, replayed tonight. I was still that abandoned boy. But this time, it wasn't just my father. It was my whole family. I turned off the engine. Didn't go inside. Because I was afraid. Afraid if I exploded, I'd be left with nothing but ashes. That night, I chose silence. But silence was no longer a solution. It only cost me more. I drove home. The house dark, cold. I switched on the light. Sat on the sofa. Pulled out the velvet box. Opened it. The ring sparkled under dim yellow light. Once a symbol of promise. Now, just proof of a mistake. I clenched it in my fist. And asked myself, what did I do wrong to become the outsider? Then the phone buzzed again. A notification. A new video from the party. Voices singing, happy anniversary. Laughter loud. Rachel blowing out candles. Max and Lily holding her hands. No mention of me. No one even remembered I existed. I let out a bitter laugh. Whispered to myself, maybe they're right. Maybe I really do ruin the mood. Tears fell. Onto the cold tile floor. I thought of Max's words. Mom said, without her parents, she wouldn't survive this marriage. Back then, I brushed it off. But now, it fit perfectly into the bigger picture. The picture where I was already erased. That night, I sat in the living room. Didn't sleep. The clock ticked. Each beat counting down. To something waiting to explode. And I understood. This was only the beginning. It wasn't just a party without me. It was a sign. A sign that I had been crossed out. From my own family. And I knew. From here on, there was no way back. After that night, the night I stared at the family-only photo, something inside me changed. I was no longer the man who stayed silent. No longer the man who thought patience would fix everything. I realized my silence had been their excuse. The reason they could erase me piece by piece. But knowing is one thing. Having the courage to fight back, that's another battle. The next morning, Rachel came home. I had been sitting in the kitchen for hours, eyes swollen, red, after a sleepless night. The door opened. Suitcase wheels rattled. Rachel walked past me. Her eyes brushed me, as if I were nothing more than a wooden chair. I steadied my voice. Rachel, we need to talk. She stopped, arms crossed, sighed. About what this time? The words choked me. Then burst out. About last night. About the party. Why wasn't I there? I'm your husband, the father of Max and Lily. And yet, Rachel cut me off. Cold, sharp. It was a family gathering. You're always so heavy. You ruin the mood. I just wanted one happy night, that's all. Her words cut deeper than a knife. My hands shook. So, you're saying I'm not family anymore? Rachel shrugged, silent. Then turned and slammed the bedroom door. That was the moment I knew. The distance between us wasn't just a crack. It was a canyon, one I could never cross. The days after, our house turned into a silent cage. Dinners filled with nothing but forks scraping plates. Max kept his head down, ate fast, then slipped away. Lily's eyes stayed glued to her phone. When I asked, how was school? She barely whispered, fine. Then silence. Rachel laughed into her phone with her mother, joking, talking, as if I wasn't there. I chewed slowly, staring at my plate. The whole meal passed without a single glance in my direction. I sat at my own table, but I felt like a shadow, an extra, in the very house I had built. One night, I called Max over. He lingered at the door, hesitant. Sit down, please, I just want to talk. He dragged out the chair, sat. I took a breath. Can you tell me why I was left out? Don't I deserve to be there? Max twisted the can in his hands, avoided my eyes, then softly. Dad, Mom said if you're there, everyone feels tense. I don't want to go against her. I froze. I wanted to ask, "And you, do you want me there?" But I bit my tongue, afraid of the answer. That night, I stepped outside, looked up. Max stood in the hallway above, his eyes torn between guilt and fear. He almost walked down, but Rachel called his name, and he turned away. My son was caught between us, but he couldn't choose me. And it wasn't just love slipping away. It was money, too. One day, I got a bank alert. Over $10,000 withdrawn. I opened the statement. Fancy restaurants, designer stores, a deposit at a beach resort. I printed it, placed it on the table in front of Rachel. She glanced at it, smirked. "You watch everything. Living with you is suffocating." Her words chilled me. I wasn't angry anymore, just cold, empty. A few days later, I found more. A secondary credit card, under Max's name, linked to my account. Big purchases, charged from there. I asked Max. He stammered. "Mom told me to." She said, "You wouldn't understand." I sank into a chair, staring at my son, and in that moment, I saw it. Rachel wasn't just taking my money. She was making my son her accomplice. I thought I was only losing my wife, but I was losing my children too. It all came to a head when her parents showed up. Saturday afternoon. I had just come back from the garage. Smell of oil still on my hands. The door opened. Michelle walked in first, her eyes sharp as blades. Greg followed, commanding. He wasted no time. "Daniel, we need to talk. You're putting too much pressure on Rachel and the kids. You need to let go." I clenched my jaw. "Let go? What do you mean?" "I just want to know where the money's going. Why I was shut out of that party." Michelle stepped in, her voice sweet but cutting. "Daniel, you don't fit this family's energy anymore. You're too heavy. Rachel needs joy. You understand, don't you?" I looked straight at them, each word heavy. "I'm Rachel's husband. I'm Max and Lily's father. And you think you can erase me?" Greg's voice was ice. "Keep this up, Daniel, and you'll erase yourself." That was the moment I knew. They weren't hiding it anymore. They wanted me gone, and they were doing everything to push me over the edge. That night, I sat in the living room, an empty suitcase in front of me. I opened it, placed a few shirts inside, then pulled them back out. I held the ring in my hand, raised it, almost walked to Rachel's room to give it to her. But I stopped at the door. Light spilled through the crack. Inside, Rachel whispered on the phone. "Just a few more days. It'll be over." I froze. Over. Did she mean our marriage? My place in this house? I didn't know, but I knew this much. It was the spark, the fuse to the explosion coming. Rachel already had a plan. She was just waiting. I turned away, closed the suitcase, put the ring back in its box, sat on the sofa, hands on my head. I didn't leave. Not yet. But I knew the storm was coming, and I had little time left before it swept me away. I thought I had hit rock bottom. But no, that was only the beginning. The real blast was still ahead. I opened the door, and my heart stopped. Rachel was in the living room. Beside her, a man I had never seen before. Mid-40s, white shirt, hair neatly combed. They sat close. On the table, a half-empty bottle of wine. 2 glasses, red as blood. Rachel was smiling. That smile, the one I hadn't seen directed at me in years. I froze in the doorway, hands trembling. The man saw me first. He stood, awkward, adjusted his shirt. Maybe I should go." Rachel's hand touched his arm. Just for a second. But to me, it landed like a punch to the chest. He left quickly, avoided my eyes as he passed. His cologne lingered, sharp, foreign. And then, just us. Me and Rachel. The air thick, suffocating. My voice shook. "Who was that?" Rachel folded her arms. Cold stare. "Someone who actually listens to me, unlike you." I staggered. What did you just say?" She stepped closer, whispered each word, like knives. "Daniel, you're just a wallet with legs. A man who pays the bills. Whether you're here or not. This family is better off." My chest shattered. I reached for the wine glass, but my hand shook so hard it slipped. Glass crashed. Red spilled across the floor. Like blood. I screamed. For the first time in years. I gave everything for this family. I worked myself to the bone. "So you and the kids never went without. What more do you want from me?" Rachel didn't flinch. Didn't waver. Just a smirk. "I want a different life. And I've already found it. You're the past." That was the moment I knew. This marriage had been dead for years. I was the only one who hadn't buried it. I collapsed into a chair, shaking. In panic, I grabbed my phone. And what I saw knocked the air out of me. A new set of photos, uploaded to our shared family album. Rachel, Max, Lily, and him. In one photo, Lily wrapped around his arm, laughing. Her caption read, "Uncle Mark is so much fun." My hand went numb. I threw the phone to the floor. So this was it. Lily already knew him. Rachel had already brought him in. Long ago. I wasn't just betrayed as a husband. I was replaced. In my children's eyes. My chest heaved. I clutched the velvet box in my pocket. Opened it. The silver ring gleamed. Once a symbol of a second promise. Now, a joke. I roared. "You destroyed everything. You didn't just betray me. You erased me from this family." Rachel's reply was calm. Flat. "Wake up, Daniel. This family doesn't need you. Max and Lily already know that. You're the only one who doesn't." That sentence killed the last part of me still alive. That night, Max knocked on my door. His eyes red, voice shaking. "Dad, I'm sorry. I never wanted it to come to this. But I'm scared. Scared of losing Mom. And scared of losing you." I pulled him close, tears falling. "Downstairs?" I heard Lily's laughter. Her voice calling out, "Uncle Mark." Each syllable hammering nails into the coffin of my marriage. And in that moment I realized I wasn't just losing my wife. I was losing my children. I stepped outside. Cold wind cut my face. I opened the velvet box, stared at the ring one last time. My hand clenched until it bled. Then I hurled it to the ground. Metal clanged loud against the dark. I whispered, voice raw, "You chose to erase me. And from this moment on, we are finished." I thought I had hit bottom. But no. The real fall was still waiting. After the night, I threw the ring on the floor. This house was never the same. Every room heavy with silence. Even footsteps. Laughter. The clink of a spoon. All felt foreign. I lived in my own house, but I felt like an outsider. The next morning, I sat at the table. Cold coffee in my hands. Rachel and Lily chattered in the kitchen. Lily's voice, bright with excitement. "Uncle Mark said he'll take me skating this weekend." Rachel laughed softly, pouring milk, nodding. They spoke as if I wasn't even there. Max came down the stairs, glanced at me, then pulled out a chair, silent. I wanted to speak, but my throat closed tight. Every laugh, every word. Another nail in the wall between me and my family. At the very table I once built, I had become a shadow. That afternoon, her parents came, Greg and Michelle. They walked in with the confidence of people who owned the place. Michelle hugged Lily. Such a bright girl, always so cheerful. Greg's stare landed on me. Heavy. "Daniel, it's time you face reality." My voice rasped. Reality? That I've been betrayed? Replaced? And now expected to disappear? Michelle adjusted her scarf. Her tone sweet. Her words sharp. "You suffocate Rachel. She needs freedom. She deserves happiness." I laughed bitterly, but tears stung my eyes. I slammed my hand on the table. Freedom? And me? I bled for this house. I broke my back to build it. And you think a few words erase me? The table shook. The cup slid. Shattered. Silence. Rachel stood in the kitchen, eyes glued to her phone. She didn't even look up. She had chosen her side long ago. Greg pressed on. "If you keep fighting this, Daniel, you'll push yourself out." That was when I knew. They weren't hiding anymore. They wanted me gone. By any means. I turned to my kids. "Max, Lily, what do you think? Am I still part of this family?" Max's fists clenched, eyes wet. "Dad, I don't want you to leave. But I don't want to lose Mom either." The words crushed me. He was being torn apart. Lily spoke without fear. "Dad, Mom's happier with Uncle Mark. So am I. Stop making this worse." I froze. The daughter who once held my hand every night, who once called me her hero, now looked at me like a burden. Max stepped forward, wanted to run to me, but Lily grabbed his arm, pulled him back. "Don't, Max. We've already chosen." The divide was clear. One reaching for me, one pushing me away. I walked to my room, opened a drawer, pulled out an old photo, a picnic years ago. Rachel holding Lily, Max smiling wide, me with my child on my shoulders. Once, my greatest pride. Now just paper. A reminder of what I'd lost. I pressed my hand to the frame, whispered, "Maybe I'm nothing but a memory in this house." I set the photo down, dragged my suitcase to the door. No one stopped me. Rachel still scrolling her phone. Michelle holding Lily's hand, laughing. Greg stood arms crossed, like a man who had already won. Only Max, his eyes filled with tears, begging silently. I placed my hand on the doorknob. Behind me, Max's voice cracked. "Dad, I'm sorry." I shook. Every part of me wanted to turn back, to hold him, but Lily's grip tightened on his hand, her voice sharp. "Let him go, Max." My son's cry echoed. But I knew, if I turned back, I would break completely. I opened the door, stepped out. The slam behind me. The final period. I drove aimlessly through the rain, streetlights rippling across puddles. My shadow warped. I stopped at the park. The same park where I once brought Max and Lily. Now empty. Cold benches. Silent grass. I sat down, buried my face in my hands, and cried like a child. In the middle of my sobs, my phone buzzed. A message. "Dad, don't leave me. I still need you." Max. Tears blurred my vision. But in that darkness, a faint light. That night, I realized I had lost a wife. But not everything. I still had a chance to hold on to my son. And that would be the last thread keeping me alive. I left that house on a cold, rainy afternoon. When the door shut behind me, I knew it was over. But I didn't know what lay ahead. The days after, I lived in a small rented room. White walls, stained with age. An old suitcase in the corner. A wooden chair that creaked every time I sat. No footsteps. No laughter. No children's voices. Only silence. One night, I cooked myself dinner. Just one plate. But I set out 4. 3 of them empty. I sat there, staring, imagining Rachel across from me, Lily and Max smiling at the sides. Then I lifted my spoon and ate in silence. The food was bland, but the tears, salty. In that moment, I realized family now existed only in memory, on a dinner table that no longer was. One afternoon, I took the ring to the park. The same park where I once brought Max and Lily. The lake was calm, ripples shifting in the breeze. I held the ring in my palm, cold metal pressing into my skin. It had once been a symbol of love. Now it was just a period, the end of a sentence. I let it fall. The water rippled out, circles spreading wide, then fading. I waited, as if the past would sink with it. But what remained was me, still standing, still breathing. That night I sat by the window, yellow light spilling through the rain. I remembered my father's words, before he left us. Sometimes, loss is the only way to see what remains. As a boy, I hated those words. But now, I understood. I had lost Rachel. I had lost a home. I had lost Lily's smile. But I still had Max. I still had myself. And most of all, I still had a heart that could feel pain, which meant I was still alive. My phone buzzed. A message. "Dad, can we meet this weekend? Just the 2 of us." Max. My hands trembled. Tears spilled. But this time, not from despair. I typed back, simple. "I want that too, son." Even in the ruins, one thread held. The bond between father and son. I don't know what tomorrow holds. Maybe I'll stay in this small room for years. Maybe Lily will never turn back. Maybe Rachel will find joy in her choice. But at least I know I will not collapse. I looked out at the lake, where the ripples from the ring had vanished, and I whispered, I lost her. But I did not lose myself. I don't know what the future will bring, but right now, I can still hear my heart beating, and maybe that's enough to keep walking.